The Twins somehow won in extras. Let's talk about it. This is Locked On Twins Live.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say? Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We are free and wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, like we are right now, live on YouTube. And so we love to have you here with us, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And that's always true. If you are watching on YouTube, leave us questions, comments. We'd love to answer them in the third segment, the seventh inning stretch, Voice of the Fan. This whole episode will probably be predicated on your comments and questions and reaction to the Twins winning 3-2 in extras. We're watching right now, at least I think everyone else is, the Guardians and Astros in the 14th inning now. Ryan Presley blew a save, and it's been pretty much neck and neck the rest of the way here into the 14th. And yeah, we'll see if they finish before we're done on the air tonight. We did have a breathless post-game minute after the game. You can check that out on YouTube Shorts. And there's a new feature on those called Statistic You Won't Hear Anywhere Else, where I find a stat that I guarantee, or at least try to guarantee, you won't hear anywhere else on a blog, a post-game article, whatever. So tonight's was how the Twins fare after starting at count 1-0. I highly recommend you go back and listen to it because it's pretty good proof that your Twins offense is not making teams pay. Before we get too far down the line, download the Gametime app and create an account. Use Locked On MLB as your code for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And yes, your episode today is brought to you by Gametime. Twins play the Blue Jays for Game 2 on Saturday. It's a 2:07 p.m. first pitch here locally at Rogers Center, and it's Joe Ryan against, we think, Bowden Francis. You can catch every game of the Twins' hometown broadcast. This time around, it's Corey with Paul Molitor, who's been absolutely delightful. But you can catch that on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search for Twins. We've got a bunch of fun questions coming in already, and we'll get to those here as soon as we can. Twins win 3-2 in extras, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it did not feel all that fulfilling. Twins three runs, 7 hits, but outside of Royce Lewis, Royce Lewis goes 4 for 4, and the rest of the team goes 3 for 32. There were a lot of reasons to watch this game and think that this Twins offense did not really do much to change how we should view them. First of all, one thing I want to start with here, Yusei Kikuchi. So Yusei Kikuchi comes in. He's got an ERA of over 4, but it gets better. It gets better. He has allowed opposing batters, again, coming into the game, to hit an astonishing 267, 326 on base, 521 slugging percentage. Opposing batters have averaged more than 2 homers per 9 innings against him since the start of last season. 162 innings. And the Twins do absolutely nothing outside of basically a bunch of singles from Royce Lewis and a Michael A. Taylor home run. By the way, Michael A. Taylor, 9 home runs on the season. Less than half as many games as last season, but as many home runs. If he could hit this many home runs for his pace, over 500 plate appearances, would be 26 home runs. His career high is 19 in 2017 with the Nationals. So we'll see if that's something that'll be worth watching here. Thank you, Alan Hess, chiming in that the Astros scored in the 14th. I have that pulled up here on MLB.TV on my monitor to the right, which, yeah, absolutely just phenomenal game going on so far. Also to Ryan Linderholm saying Stroh's and Guards in a crazy game. Yeah, we're keeping an eye on that one right now. It seems as though whoever either of these teams bring in, they're good for one run to give up, or you have Jeremy Pena making kind of a goofy play at short on what should have been a 6U, 6-3 double play ball. It's, not pretty. Ryan Linderholm saying Michael A. Taylor and Royce Lewis were the Twins' offense. Yeah, I guess if you take away, and again, I mean, I guess that's kind of cherry picking, but 5 for 7 for Taylor and Lewis, 2 for 28 for the rest of the team. So 1 for 14 and 1 for 14. I mean, obviously they're hitting lower than 0.100. That's 1 for 10. They're 1 for 14, 2 for 28. I'm not great at math, but I could probably pull that up here. 2 for 28. 0.071. So the rest of this offense hits 0.071, and basically they still managed to win. Also, to Jacob Tobin says, yeah, we don't know how the Twins managed to win, but we'll take those otherwise or nonetheless, which is cool. And to John Lano saying, excited you're going live. Yes, I'm going to as I learned this software. First of all, I learned that I know how to record without coughing anymore, just in time for me to not feel so sick. But again, now you don't have to listen to that nonsense of me coughing on air. I thought I had a pretty good figuring of it, but I think I'm 100% now. So you guys should be real excited about that, I'm sure. Just distracted by this Guardians Astros game here. 9-8 still. Chas McCormick at the plate, Xavier Curry pitching. But nevertheless, yeah, we're going to try to go live more often as I learn this software a little bit better. Also, too, from John, Joe Ryan leads the entire MLB in xWOBA, which is incredible. Yeah, that split that he's added has been phenomenal for him. I don't know if it's the tunneling ability of the two pitches. The fastball he throws a lot in the split. But I discussed with Blake Murphy on Fan 590 in Toronto earlier today, is that I think with the split, you usually rule it out low because it's going to drop further out of the zone. If he can set his fastball down there and then use the split off that and then vice versa up top, I think that's what makes a pitcher who doesn't throw 95, 96 regularly that much more valuable. And a good comparison, and Blake brought this up, is Kevin Gausman, who I believe the Twins are going to face in Game 3 of the series. So little compare and contrast of notes to see what that looks like. But yeah, you got to like your chances, Joe Ryan. It looks like something named Bowden Francis will pitch for the Jays. I do not know that much about him. I'm going to pull him up here on Fangraphs because we want to give him the Fangraphs treatment. But, with that said, I'm not exactly sure what his story is. Contract selected as of 3 days ago. He's pitched 2/3 of an inning. So barely pitched in the big leagues, and that was 2/3 of an inning last year. So don't really know much about him. Fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. Looks pretty standard. Again, 2/3 of an inning, so we don't really know much about his repertoire, but looks like that's who we'll see on Saturday. And as most people think, he'll probably carve them up because, again, Yusei Kikuchi comes in with an 847 OPS against tonight and still manages to, I don't know if I'd say slice and dice through the Twins, but 5 innings, 4 strikeouts. Did give up the homer to Michael A. Taylor, which, again, is basically all of the Twins' offense outside of scratching a run across late. Again, got to give Royce Lewis credit for having a pretty stellar game 2, 4 hits, gets his average back up to 270. Beyond that, though, pretty uninspired offensive night, which I think a lot of people expected with Donnie Solani, Willie Castro, and Kyle Garlick in the top 3 of the order. And again, too, Rocco used his substitutions like he does a lot in games where they go from righty to lefty and lefty to righty. But with that said, they didn't have the answer for Kikuchi. And I thought Kikuchi's curveball looked pretty dreadful. Nate Pearson looked nasty. They really looked clueless against Yimi Garcia, which I didn't think was necessary. I mean, the guy's got an ERA over 5 and strikes out 2 of the 3 guys he faces. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. Let's take a quick break before we jump back into your questions and comments. We'll talk a little bit about Gametime. So gametime.co or the Gametime app. If you're looking for tickets to a game, and again, the Twins are coming home here pretty soon. I think they got a 10-game homestand. Brewers, Tigers. It's going to be some fun games coming up here. And the weather is just perfect, too, right now to go out to Target Field for a late evening game. I mean, right now, what is it? 72 degrees here in the Twin Cities. Can you imagine walking back to your car, 72 degrees, after sitting out for 2.5 hours of what you hope is a win? Can't get much better than that. And so if you're trying to find tickets, Gametime is your app, or gametime.co if you want to use the browser. And basically all you do is you find last-minute ticket deals. Don't have to plan in advance. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, they give you 110% of the difference. You get to see where your tickets are going to be when you buy them, so you get a good idea of the view. You buy them in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're done. And the tickets go directly to your phone. It's a no-brainer. It's so easy. And it's not just games. It's shows, it's concerts, etc. You just find your city or your metro area, search different venues, search different events, and oh, great, the Guardians just tied it up again. But yeah, back to Gametime. You just have to download the app. It's you download the app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. It's $20 off your first purchase. It's the biggest no-brainer of all time. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first order. That's the downtown. Download Gametime. There, we got it. Today, last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so I want to give some credit to my dog for just walking in here, but no, probably won't play well on the podcast, but I'm sure you guys will appreciate it if he shows up here on the live broadcast. Joan Duran going back out after a pretty stressful 9th inning. Pretty stressful is probably underselling it. Let's just walk through what exactly happened, because it's actually kind of a Houdini act, and one that if I think the Twins had been on the other end of, would have frustrated me to no end. So Duran hits Santiago Espinal with a pitch. George Springer doubles to center off the right center field fence, Espinal to third. And I bet they're probably, wanting that back in the sense that maybe he could have scored, but still you're set up in a good way with Alejandro Kirk, who had entered the game, good contact hitter. Then there's Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr., and eventually it gets to Brandon Belt, but that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. With that said, so Springer doubles, you got runners on second and third with nobody out, and you're facing, Kirk, Bichette, Guerrero. So you basically have to pick 2 of the 3 that you're going to attack, 1 that you'll put on if the inning gets to that point, assuming it's not Kirk, which why would it be Kirk? But so they get Kirk to ground out to Willie Castro at second. Really nice play by Castro, who had only been at second base for the beginning of that inning. I mean, just an absolutely incredible job by Willie to make that play. And then they go after Bo Bichette, which I second guessed, because I'd rather face Vlad Jr. with them loaded than Bo Bichette with 2 in scoring position. It worked out. They got Bo Bichette on a pitch in the dirt. Vladdy was intentionally walked, and then Brandon Belt lined one again right to Willie Castro, hero of the inning. Twins scratch one across in the top half on a sac fly. Ryan Jeffers scores at the plate. I am not, I will say, not convinced that Kirk did not block the plate there. And let me tell you why. Well, the Guardians have just walked off the Astros. Wow, very, very cool, guys. Very cool. Twins up a game and a half in the division. Nevertheless, back to the 10th inning. So the throw gets home about the same time that Jeffers does, but Kirk can't corral the throw. But I was just thinking, like, I think Kirk was in the baseline way more egregiously than Gary Sanchez was last year when, guess who? Whit Merrifield scores in that game that basically, I think you can make the case, derailed the Twins last season. So, yeah, we're watching Cleveland having walked off the Astros in it's a pretty ugly game. So neither team scores in the 10th or 11th. Then the Guardians score. Sorry, the Astros score 1-1-1 in the 12th, 13th, and 14th. Guardians go 1-1-2. Just your random 19-run, 29 combined hit game. Yeah, not much more to say than that. Kind of sick of this from the Guardians, but this isn't Locked On Guardians. So, yeah. Our friend Ryan says he was at the game when Will Brennan hit the 2-run homer off Sonny Gray, so he's starting to hate this guy. Speaking of Sonny Gray, Fox had the Twins game against the Guardians, and AJ Pierzynski called it. AJ Pierzynski was on Locked On Twins on Thursday. Yesterday, if you're watching this on Friday, highly, highly, highly recommend you go watch that. AJ was brilliant. I did my best to feed him some questions he hadn't heard in a long time, but I don't know. You can be the judge. You can watch and see what you think. I'd love to hear from you. But again, Duran pitches out of that damage in the 9th. They get to the 10th. Twins push a run across. Now, in the 9th inning, I'm pulling it up because I want to make sure I speak on this correctly. In the 9th inning, Duran had thrown, make sure I got this here, 21 pitches. That, let's see, that's the third most he's pitched in a 9th inning this season, most in about a month and a half since Kansas City when the Twins lost at home 3-2 on April 29th. Then he comes back out, though, for the 10th, which we haven't seen that much of. He's only pitched now 2 12th or 10th innings this season where he's pitched more than 10 pitches. Astros 7-5 win on May 29, so about, 10, 11, 12 days ago. Otherwise, it was the loss to the Dodgers, the win over the Padres, and both of those were in mid-May, and then against the Red Sox in mid-April in Boston. So we have not seen a lot of Duran coming back out for that second inning when it's 9-10. I especially like it on the road because you're trying to keep the other team from doing anything on the bases. You get a guy with a little more contact-based approach pitching-wise, and it's tough to keep a runner from scoring from second. And we saw that in 6 straight half innings of this Guardians-Astros game. If you don't have your best guys out there, you're kind of at the whim of, and that's the game the Guardians play best, singles and bleeps and bloops and all that stuff. Bleeps, I guess, if you're a Twins fan, bloops if you're a Guardians fan. Jacob says the Eduardo Escobar Juan Duran trade is one of the best the front office has made. Yeah, I think Joe Ryan for Nelson Cruz, and again, keep in mind too, Drew Strootman was in that trade. Haven't heard much about him lately. Let's see if we can find anything about him. We have not seen them make a better trade than Joe Ryan and Strootman for Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz more, I don't want to say he was broken down, and there was no indication that he was not going to be at least decent. But in the 2 seasons post-Rays, he's got a 651 OPS. He's 160 games, he's hit 13 homers. That's decidedly not Nelson Cruz. And so I said 160 games. He's on a rehab stint right now, I think, working his way back from injury. And then he only had a 725 OPS with the Rays. Meanwhile, the Twins have turned Joe Ryan into, a fringe Cy Young candidate. I don't know if I'd say he's even ahead of Sonny Gray at this point, but I think the fact that he's good enough to even be considered, certainly is something that's cool to consider. Let's come down the 7th inning stretch here, but before we do that, let's talk about Birddogs. Are you wearing Birddogs yet? They are comfortable shorts and pants. They make you look good. Stretch khakis make you look slimmer. Easy for me to say. Through the thigh and leg, they give you a nice sculpted look. I wear mine all the time. AJ tried to tell me I only have one pair, but I do have two, so I didn't wear the same pair back to back on Wednesday and Thursday. Do not let AJ Pierzynski deceive you. But they look kind of like the Lululemon shorts that you see, but they're cheaper. They fit better. They come with a liner that kind of acts as like the underwear. Just fabulous. So it looks like khaki, but it stretches in a slimmer fit. Makes a guy like me even look like I have definition in my legs. But yeah, I love them. Next time, maybe I'll wear them on camera live. Right now, I'm wearing my Fangraph shorts, which I think Fangraph's athletic shorts is kind of an oxymoron, but it is what it is. Anyway, I have worn them. I love them. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. Enter promo code LockedOnMLB. You get a free Yeti-style tumbler from them. It's a cool tumbler. I do not have mine with me, but I did have it on the air with AJ. But again, it's virtually identical to a Yeti, and you get it for free. So birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. You get a free tumbler. You will not want to take your Birddogs off. We guarantee it. Now we come down the home stretch again, too. Thanks for making us your first listen every day on Locked On Twins. If you're an everydayer, at the very least, we will be back on Monday, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll come back and hang over the weekend, too, because these lives seem like they could be a really fun option as long as I can be as prepared as necessary, which is not always a guarantee. Twins play game 2 of the series with the Blue Jays on Saturday, 2:07 p.m. Joe Ryan against Bowden Francis, we think. We don't know yet for sure. But you can hang out with Corey and Paul Molitor on the Twins broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Twins. And we even have an ad on there where I'm telling you to listen to this show. So if you hear that ad, shoot me a message because I'd love to know that people are hearing it. I heard it the other day on my way to Culver's, and let me just tell you, it was kind of cool to hear my own self talking on SiriusXM. So check that out. And again, thanks for checking us out as well. So, oh boy, Chris Jimenez on the post game for the Guardians. Old friend Chris Jimenez next to Jensen Lewis. Not a lot of hair going on there, boys. But yeah, Guardians walk off the Astros 10-9. Twins lead remains 1.5 games in the Central. Guardians get their 30th win of the season. Twins 32-32. Yeah, I did not believe this team was going to win this game. I didn't feel like they even had a chance. And we had that one in Houston with the Jeffers just absolute missile into the Crawford boxes that they had no business winning, that they won. And then they had one other one recently that is escaping my mind. But the fact that their most recent wins have been ones that you wouldn't expect them to win, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Again, we said earlier in the show, offensively, outside of the duo, I mean, Royce Lewis goes 4 for 4. The rest of the team goes 3 for 32. 3 for 32 for batting averages .093. If you subtract Michael Taylor, who went 1 for 3, the rest of the team goes 2 for 28. As we said already, 2 for 28. That's a 0.72 on average. So it's hard to be real enthused about this game because we did see a lot of the same issues that we've seen. I don't want to say all season long because they've had stretches where they've hit. But for instance, the Trevor Larnach swing, 3-1. It was a half swing, but nevertheless a swing, came in the top of the 8th. So Yimi Garcia, who struck out Kirilloff and Willie Castro swinging, and again, this is a guy with an ERA over 5, goes down 3-0 to Larnach. Larnach takes a strike, which I guess I get it. I would give him the green light 3-0 if that's not the pitch he wanted. He probably had the green light and didn't swing. But then he checks on a pitch well out of the strike zone. And again, like, I have to question your pitch identification. If you're even considering swinging at that. 3-0, you're one pitch, one location. 3-1, you're about, I don't know, a half step beyond that. And to me, Larnach needs to have better process than that at the plate. And it feels like the Twins do that all game long. They get into hitters' counts. They do not capitalize. And they either get caught looking, which they've done more than every team except for the Giants this year, or they get caught looking but rung up on a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad pitch. And at some point, like, the frustration has to bubble over to where it's not just bleeping umpires, but not putting yourself in that situation. And the Twins are doing that. They're doing that a lot. So that to me is a simple process thing. It's low IQ baseball that should be imminently fixable without too much trouble. Big ups for Griffin Jacks. I believe I heard that was his 7th straight scoreless outing. So good to see him getting back on the bicycle, perhaps taking the bicycle out of the hands of Jorge Lopez, who's obviously struggled of late. But a lot more of the same. Twins striking out late, non-competitive at bats. And I'll give you a little treat here because I pulled it up. The Twins are hitting 220, or was it 224? I'll pull it up here just so I have it. But basically it comes down to how the Twins are hitting when a count starts 1-0. So after 1-0, basically it's a hitter's count. Hitters succeed very, very often. After 1-0, across all of MLB this season, teams are hitting 260 with a 381 on base and a 445 slugging. So I don't even know how you'd compare that to, just because the walk numbers are high. I think that's what probably would be like an 80th or probably a 90th percentile outcome for Edouard Julien, is if he could hit 260, 381, 445. The Twins, meanwhile, so teams are hitting 260 on average. The Twins are hitting 222. So actually it hadn't fully updated. I think I said 220. I think I said 224. So it hadn't updated with their final plate appearances of the night when I posted that. Only one team is hitting worse. One team. The Padres, 211 after 1-0. So again, they're not punishing pitchers. And then 391 slugging percentage. That puts them, let's see here, 28th. So they're not getting hits and they're not hitting driving mistakes after hitters counts. That simply has to change. And how that happens, I don't know. We got a lot of people asking too. Alan Hess, how culpable is the hitting coach in all this? I don't have a good answer, because at the end of the day, you decide what to swing at as a hitter. They instill maybe a policy. Maybe they're like almost like your psychiatrist at the plate. I asked Joe Vaver about that. I told him I wasn't joking, but you are a psychiatrist, a hitter psychiatrist. And so I don't know. We haven't seen them fire a coach in season. We've only seen Wes Johnson jump ship. So I don't know if that's a close thing or not. And I don't know how much it matters. Also, Ryan too says a lot of his buddies are saying it's a hitting coach. Honestly, I really don't know if that's the issue or not. Last thing I want to touch on, we're going to go a little over here, but that's okay. We're supposed to only go a half hour. But Sonny Gray, 5 innings, gets lifted. And I think if someone was a box score watcher, they'd say, well, what the heck? Numbers look good. He throws 76 pitches. What's the deal? Well, let's go back and look at his 5th inning. If you look at his 5th inning from tonight, he threw 76 pitches, but I want to make sure I have this exactly right, because I believe it's 31 of them. Nearly half came in the 5th inning. 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 7 batters faced, but 4 of them reached. That to me is getting out of an inning by the skin of your teeth. And, I know 6th inning, Moran comes in, gives up the single to Espinal. Then Brock Stewart gives up the double to Springer, and that's Moran's run. But I get the process of of taking out Gray at that point. He had not been good in the 5th inning. And for the 6th, do you send him back out there to face Merrifield, Varsho, Espinal? I don't know. Moran did a good job until, Espinal getting on. Espinal had a nice season last year. He's been, much more of a struggling hitter this year. But, you trust Stewart to get the job done, and Springer doubles off him on the first pitch. It's nice to have a guy like George Springer coming off your bench to hit a sweeper off the right field fence. Not every team has that. But with that said, yeah, Sonny Gray, to me, not working further than that was a lot less surprising than I expected it to be when I kind of went back and, kind of looked at the numbers, the specific numbers that were at the disposal of Rocco and friends. Well, that's it. That's a wrap. Again, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Make sure you follow Locked On Twins at Brandon_Warren. Check out the AJ Pierzynski episode from Thursday. I cannot emphasize this enough. It was so much fun. AJ was just great. Subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Hit that button beneath here that says subscribe. We'd love to have you. Otherwise, this is Brandon Warren signing off, saying thank you for hanging out with us, and have a freaking weekend.